I was talking with a friend and this is what they said. My mom charged me rent the day I turned 18. Her mom charged her. I used to think that was just how it worked. Then I did the maths. If she had let me keep that money and invest it instead, I would have had £34,000 by the time I was 25. We called it teaching me a lesson. The lesson it actually taught me was that struggle is something you inherit. It does not have to be. Before I go any further, I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to disrespect anyone's parents or anyone's upbringing. The parents who charged their children rent were not bad parents. They were doing what they knew. They were doing what was done to them, what they believed was right. And in many cases, they had real financial pressures of their own. And I understand that. But understanding where something comes from does not mean we have to carry it forward. And this particular pattern, the charging of rent to adult children living at home, is one of the most common examples of what I call regressational wealth. Not generational wealth. Regressational wealth, where instead of passing the foundation forward, we pass the struggle forward. Where instead of saying, I went through something hard and let the buck stop with me, we say, I went through it, so you should too. And it shows up in so many ways in our community. The parent who was not allowed to question authority, so their children cannot question them. The parent who did not get the wedding they wanted, so they spend money they do not even have on their children's wedding. And the parent who was charged rent at 18, so they charge their children rent at 18. Not out of malice, but out of habit. Out of a belief that hardship is something to be inherited rather than interrupted. But here's the question that I want you to sit with today. What if the habit is costing our children more than we realize? Let me show you the maths, because I think when you see the numbers, the conversation changes. The average rent charged by parents to adult children living at home in the UK is around £400 to £500 a month. So let us use £450 as our figure. A young person moves back home at 18 or stays at home after school and pays £450 a month to their parents over 3 years. That is £16,200 gone. Now, let us look at the alternative. This same young person, same 3 years, but instead of paying rent to their parents, they invest that £450 a month into a stocks and shares ISA at a conservative annual return of 8% on average. So let's take a look. Over 3 years, that £450 a month becomes approximately £18,000. But here's where it gets interesting, because they are not just saving the money, they are investing it. And the compound growth does not stop at 3 years. If you leave that money invested and you do not touch it, by the time they are 25, that pot has grown to over £194,000. And that is from money that would otherwise have gone to their parents. And by the time they are 45, it is worth over £500,000 from a decision made at 18. Now, I'm not saying parents should not be supported. I'm not saying adult children should live at home indefinitely with no contribution. What I am saying is the way we structure that contribution matters enormously. And most families have never thought about it this way. So what does a legacy-minded father do instead? Because I'm not here to just point out the problem, and I'm here to show you a different way, the fathers I work with who are serious about generational wealth, they do not charge their children rent in the traditional sense. What they do is make a different kind of agreement. Here's what that looks like. When their child turns 18 and is living at home, they sit down together, they have the money conversation, and they say something like this: you are not paying me rent, but you're not living here for free either. So here's what we're going to do. Every single month, you are going to put £300 into an investment account. I'm going to help you set it up. I'm going to show you how it works. And in 3 years, when you're actually ready to move out, that money that you've saved and invested is actually yours as a deposit, as a foundation, as the start of something. So that is not a soft option. That is a structured agreement. What that does is it teaches financial discipline, it builds the habit of investing from young and from early, and it creates a real asset. And it sends a message that is completely different to the one most of us received. The message is not life is hard and you need to learn that. The message itself is I'm going to show you how to build something, and I'm going to help you do it while you are still under my roof. That is legacy-minded parenting. That is the buck stopping with you. I want to say something that might be uncomfortable, and I say it with respect for every parent who has ever made this decision. A lot of the time, when we charge our children rent, it is not really about teaching them a lesson. Let's be for real. It's about something else. It is about the feeling that they should not have it easier than we did. That if we struggled, they should struggle too. That comfort is something to be earned through hardship, not given. And I understand that feeling. I grew up with it. But I want to challenge it, because the families that are building real generational wealth, the ones that are actually closing the gap, are not the ones where every generation starts from scratch. They are the ones where every generation starts from somewhere, where the parent's sacrifice becomes the child's foundation, not the child's burden. The goal of parenting is not to recreate your own experience. It is to give your children a better one. And sometimes that means making a decision that feels uncomfortable, that feels like you are letting them off too easy, but is actually the most intentional thing you can do. The buck stopping with you does not mean absorbing all the hardship yourself. It means deciding that the hardship ends here and the building begins now. Let me show you what this looks like over time. Two young people, same age, 18, same family income, same ambitions. Child number one, that child moves back home after school, pays £450 a month in rent to their parents over 3 years, learns that money goes out and does not come back, moves out at 21 with a small amount of savings, no investment account, no financial framework, and definitely starting from scratch. Child number two, same situation, but their father makes a different agreement. £300 a month into an investment account, father shows them how it works, they have the money conversation, they even understand what they are building and why. They then move out at 21 with £12,000 invested, a deposit, a foundation, a head start that took 3 years to build. Same age, same starting point, completely different position at 21. And the difference compounds because child number two does not just have the money, they have the habit, they have the knowledge, and they have the framework. They know how to invest, they know why it matters, and they know what their family is building. And they carry that forward. That, ladies and gentlemen, is generational wealth. Not the lump sum, the pattern. I'm not telling you what to do with your children. That's your decision. And every family situation is different. But I am asking you to make that decision intentionally and not by default. Not because it is what was done to you, but because you have thought about it. You've looked at the numbers and you've decided what kind of legacy you want to build. Because the most powerful thing a father can do is not just provide for his children, it is to show them how to provide for themselves and for their children after that. That is the conversation. That is the decision. And that is the buck stopping with you. If you want to be around other fathers who are making these decisions intentionally, who are thinking about legacy in this way, and who are holding each other to a higher standard, comment the word heirs below. House of Heirs is a private community for legacy-minded fathers. The founding cohort is small, and the men who get in first set the culture for everything that comes after. Comment the word heirs, build the name they inherit. And remember, as I always say, don't die for free.